first of all, feedback also includes celebration. We often think about feedback as just, constructive criticism, but remember how many of you in your KISS, in your key indicators of success, care about recognition. And so remember, this is really important. So a couple things to keep in mind. You want to keep in mind whether it's public or private when you're celebrating someone. The person who has a DISC style of influence, the social oriented person, would love the public recognition. They would thrive on it. It would really be an amazing thing for them. But a person who's more inward, who's more maybe private, that could be like a really horrible experience for them. They would feel on the spot and maybe exposed or something. And so if in doubt, you can always ask, hey, I want to celebrate this, or I want to compliment you. Like, how can I do this to really support you? And again, written or verbal, you want to consider for the same reasons. And when you give, a compliment, you want to be more than just, hey, you were amazing and great job, or that was awesome. You want to be specific, like, hey, the way you handled that partner request, and they were difficult. I love the way you said this, this, and this. And I love the way you brought us back to the agenda, or you did a really great job in helping the team in this specific way. So really be specific in your feedback, because that's going to be more helpful than a general great job. And celebrating them in their language means, again, that you're aware of maybe their own core values as you get to know your team members. What's really important to them? Do they care deeply about getting home for their young toddler? And one of the ways you celebrate them is to say, hey, I'm going to make sure I'll be on deck for this big project. You go home. I'm so grateful for your help on this thing that you worked with me on. You can take the afternoon off, do what you got to do. I've got your back. That might be a way to give a peer-to-peer meaningful celebration besides just words. Because for some of us, words isn't the way we receive love language or our language of appreciation. And again, making time for this, because so often we're on to the next crisis and then on to the next fire drill, and we don't stop and celebrate. We focus on what could be better, what could be better, what could be better. But if we don't celebrate the wins, then we're just chipping away at ourselves, and we need to build ourselves and each other up to stay in balance. And please chime in if you have questions as I'm going through this. So then constructive, on the other hand, is always private, never in public. And you want to be really careful and notice if you inadvertently, passive aggressively make someone feel bad in public, because it can be something obvious that you wouldn't want to do, but just notice your language and your tone. You always want to give someone feedback in private, and you always want it to be verbal. You don't want messages to get lost in emails and tones to be misinterpreted. There's already a million typos in emails anyway. And you want to orient to solutions. So, being focused on what could be better versus being right or blaming. And you want to consider permission levels and timing, meaning, so if you are the manager, then you obviously have permission to give that employee feedback. And it's a question of checking in around, hey, I've got some feedback for you. I have some thoughts on how this XYZ project went. Do you have time? Are you in a position to receive it? Because you want to make sure that they didn't just have a big loss in their family or some big things going on, which you want to be sensitive around. And to one of the colleagues who brought up the timing issue in the beginning, there are some people that seem to always have drama going on, and sometimes you just have to say, hey, I need to share something important with you. Are you ready to receive it? Now, if you're a peer giving feedback, the permission level is very important. So you might have some really insightful feedback for your colleague, but you want to make sure your colleague is in a position to hear it, so they don't see you as know-it-all or as putting them down. And so one of the ways to handle that is to ask, hey, I noticed I was in that call with you, I was in that meeting with you, and I noticed a few things that might be helpful for you if you want to hear them, or if you're open to discussing, I have some ideas that might be useful for you. And so that's a way to bring up some feedback where you're getting permission to give that and you're not their manager.